Alrighty, so guys, we finished up with minor parties yesterday. Today we're going to get into something that is not real exciting, but it won't take too long. All right, so we're going to look at the organization of political parties, okay? And with a focus kind of on the national parties. We will talk about state and local party, but this would be the main focus, okay? So you may have heard of these, okay? And both parties have a national committee. So you have the Republican National Committee, okay, which is just the RNC, okay? And then you have the Democratic National Committee, which is the DNC. Okay? Not too difficult there. All right? Now, these national committees, they run the parties. Okay? These are the bigwigs in the party. And basically, they have the committee has a number of members. Okay? The Republicans have 100 members. If you can imagine, how many from each state? Two. And in addition to that, they're going to be one male and one female from each state. Okay, that's how the Republicans do it. Okay? The Democrats do it a little different. It's a little more democratic. Okay? They have 100, two from each state, one man, one woman, but they add 33 more members for the larger states. Those 33 come in as at-large from the larger states. A little more democratic, if you will. Okay? Now, they have two major jobs. Okay? Two major jobs. Do you know the two major jobs? One is to run the conventions. Now, these are every 4 years, right? Every presidential year, they run a convention, okay? It's usually in August of the election year, presidential election year, okay? So August of 2020, the Republicans and Democrat parties, and for that matter, if there is a third party, a Libertarian Party, they'll have a convention as well, although it'll be much smaller, okay, than these major parties. All right? That's one job, run the conventions. The other job, as you could probably imagine, is to raise money. Lots and lots of money. Okay? So just to enlighten you a little bit about this process, okay? So we're going to go back over to the Electoral College map, okay? And talk about the election cycle. The Europeans like to make fun of us because our election cycles are so long. So let's go to 2020, all right? In the year 2020, the election is what month? The first Tuesday after the first Monday in November, even numbered year, 4 years, right?
Yep, that Tuesday.
First Tuesday after the first Monday, okay? Now, they will start campaigning the previous year in 2019. But as we move into January and February of 2020, okay, they're going to start having what are called primaries or caucuses. So remember, the Republicans in 2016 started with like 16 candidates. Okay? Remember some of the names. We've talked about this, right? Chris Christie, Carla Fiorina, Ben Carson, right? All these people. Donald Trump. Okay? They had to whittle that down to one. Okay? And that's the job of the party. So in each state, they're going to have these primaries or caucuses. What a primary is basically you get to go vote. Okay? If you live in a state where it is an open primary, you can vote, if you're a registered Republican, you can vote in both the Democrat and Republican primary. Even though you're registered as a Republican, you can vote in the Democratic primary. It's called an open primary. Kansas has closed primaries and caucuses where you have to be registered as a Republican or a Democrat to vote in that election. Okay, does that make sense? Now, why would I have open primaries? It kind of sounds to me like you could kind of sabotage your opponent by going and voting for the person that you think would be the easiest one to beat. Shenanigans. Okay? This does happen. Okay? Shenanigans.
What states?
Yeah, it's, I don't know.
Like the majority of states?
Liberal states.
I would say the majority are closed, but there are open primary states. Okay? Now, does anybody know which state tends to be first? The first state.
Florida.
Huh?
Is it on
No.
the East Coast?
Yes?
South Carolina?
Well, it's north.
Pennsylvania.
New Hampshire. New Hampshire traditionally has become the first primary state. Okay? The first caucus state in New Hampshire and Iowa are always the first two states. Iowa. Okay? Now, this is important. If the first primary state was California, it's a very large state. So is Texas, okay? This would be very difficult for somebody that didn't have a lot of money, that was relatively unknown, to win, okay? When Bill Clinton went to New Hampshire, okay, does anybody know who the current governor of Arkansas is right now? No. That's not my kind of band. Yeah. So in 92, nobody knew who Bill Clinton was. Okay? So he went to New Hampshire, and he campaigned up there. And he worked really hard. And it's a small state. If you spend 6 months hanging out in New Hampshire, meeting people, shaking hands, telling people what you want to do for the country, you actually might have a chance. Okay? And then you get people to support you. You get grassroots. You get people that are going to go out and campaign for you. You meet people. Okay? And so it really allows for somebody that's relatively unknown, that doesn't have a ton of money, to be competitive. Same thing with Iowa. I mean, Iowa is a very rural state, so you can go to the big cities relatively easy. It's kind of like Kansas, okay, but smaller. So it's a deal where it doesn't take a lot of money to get started. So if you win New Hampshire or come in second, your name is going to be on the front page of every newspaper in America the next day. Now we say, it's going to be online everywhere, okay? That gives you a bounce. People start sending you money, okay? Then you go to South Carolina, okay? Then you go to Michigan. And then you work your way through the system. Now, Kansas doesn't come until the summer. Okay, these are happening in January and February, the early ones. So the most important primaries are the early ones, because people can get, known. They can get facial recognition. They can get money based off these results, or what you refer to as a bounce. You get a bounce out of New Hampshire. Then you go down to South Carolina, and you're like, hey, I did great in New Hampshire. Vote for me. And, they're campaigning. They're hitting the road. Okay? So these early primaries are important. Now, what is a caucus? A caucus is like a meeting. So we have 105 counties in Kansas. And each county is going to have a meeting. All right? Sedgwick County is one of the largest populated counties. So when the Republicans put on their primary, or their caucus, they did it Century 2, the last two elections. Okay? And it was really kind of cool, this last one in 2016. Did any of you guys go down for that? Okay. I went down for that. Have I told you this story? I mean, this is really, I have. Okay, so you got Donald Trump shows up. Ted Cruz shows up. Now remember, we're later in the year. So there were only like 3 or 4, Rubio was still in it. There's like 4 or 5 Republicans left. The rest had dropped out. So Kansas mattered for once. And having the candidates show up in Kansas with a whopping 6 electoral college votes, all right? I mean, it's pretty cool. So Trump shows up, and he's having a rally. One of his rallies where he says all these wild things, like he was in Pennsylvania the last 2 nights campaigning. He says these things, and people are like, So anyhow, like you haven't gotten used to it yet. So he shows up, and there's a rally, and so all these Trump people are showing up, and I'm like, I gotta get in. I gotta go in there and watch that. So I go in, I get in line. I actually got interviewed by the New York Times while I was standing in line.
Wow.
Okay, they had a guy there. Okay, and I got quoted in the New York Times, which was pretty cool. And so I go in, and I'm like, okay, because Trump's on one part of Century 2, and the caucus is another room in Century 2. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to go in, I'm going to watch a couple minutes, get a little video, and then I'm going to get in line, the other line, to get into the caucus, because I got places to be. So I get in there, and, you know, it's a big rally. You know, Trump people are going nuts. And so I got some video, got out of there, got in line. Now, so all the Cruz people, the Cruz supporters, because Ted Cruz shows up for the primary. You got Cruz and Trump, okay? And so all the Cruz people are standing in line to get into the caucus. So I get in there, and Cruz is on the floor meeting people, taking pictures. You know, I snapped some pictures of Cruz from like 3 feet away, and shook his hand, and then got up. And so then what happens at the caucus is any candidate that's still in there, they get to give a speech. Okay, so Cruz goes first, and it's like wild in there because everybody's a Cruz supporter. Then Marco Rubio was not there, so Mike Pompeo, who I don't know if I told you this, I go to church with.
Yeah.
Mike Pompeo gives a speech on behalf of Marco Rubio. Okay, and then Trump shows up. He comes from his rally, but all the people in there are Cruz supporters. The Trump people got to get back in line to get into the caucus, okay? Because they're over at the rally. That was kind of a bad planning on the thing on the Trump campaign, okay? But anyhow, so I'm listening to this speech by Trump, and I'm like, yeah, I got to go. And so I go to vote, and I was a Cruz supporter. So I go to vote, and they said, well, you can't vote until all the speeches are done. And Trump's winding it up, you know. He's the last one. I said, hey, I got to go get my daughter. Is it okay if I go and vote? And they said, okay, he's almost done. So I think I was the first person to vote in the caucus in Sedgwick County. Got my vote in for Cruz, hit the road, got out of there. Okay. And Cruz won Kansas. He won the Kansas primary. Okay. But Trump obviously went on to get the nomination. But okay, so you go through the process and you whittle it down to one candidate, okay, from each party. Okay. Then when you get to August, you go to the convention. Okay. Now these conventions are really a bunch of pomp and circumstance. There's nothing really that important that happens in these conventions. They run 4 days long. Okay. The Republicans were I think in Cleveland last time or Tampa. They pick a city, and all these Republicans and Democrats descend on that city. And so 4 days. So really the most important thing that happens in these conventions is the official nominating of the candidate, okay, by the party. And the candidate will say, I accept the nomination for the Republican Party to run for President of the United States. And the people go wild, and there's funny hats, and red, white, and blue, and music, and, you have guest speakers. Now, sometimes you bring in a very important guest speaker that gives the keynote address, okay? So, for instance, if you go back to the year 2004, does anybody know who gave the keynote address at the Democratic National Committee? A politician from Chicago that not many Americans have heard of. Barack Obama. In 2004, he gave the keynote speech, and he knocked it out of the park. It was a great speech, and everybody's glowing over Barack Obama. And next thing you know, he's running for president, right? Okay, in 2008. So it's kind of a launching board into that. So, let's see. Chris Christie in 2012 gave the keynote address for Mitt Romney when he was running. Okay? Did not mention Mitt Romney's name one time. So you're looking for that rising star in your party. So 2016, I don't remember exactly who gave the addresses for the two parties. But it can be pretty important. And then the potential first lady or first husband gives a speech. So in 2016, Bill Clinton spoke on behalf of his wife. And Melania Trump spoke on behalf of her husband. And I don't know if you guys remember that. She lifted a lot of that speech from one of Michelle Obama's speeches. Holy cow. Somebody needs to be fired, okay? Get a speechwriter in there for the potential first lady and come up with something original, please. That was embarrassing. And I felt really bad for her because she doesn't want to do this. Yeah, I bet she didn't. And you see the results, okay? All right, so you guys kind of get an idea. Now, they used to announce at the convention who the vice presidential running mate was going to be. And that was kind of a big deal, okay? Because there was always a secret who's going to be the running mate. Al Gore ruined that in 2000 when he announced his vice presidential running mate, Joe Lieberman, before the convention because he was trying to get ahead in the polls. So he said, I got this guy. He's going to be great vice president. And I like Joe Lieberman. But anyhow, he kind of changed that. So now they announced their running mate earlier. All right. So, yeah, I mean, so guys, the networks, ABC, CBS, NBC, used to run 4 days of this, 4 nights of this. So all your programming, all your TV shows were interrupted for 4 days. Okay, now they barely run any of it, the networks. The cable news, they run some of it, quite a bit of it, but so there's really not a lot to these conventions anymore. It's just a bunch of party people getting together for a party. Now, there is one thing they do, and this is called the party platform. Okay? This is the party stance on all the official, or their official stance on all the hot button topics of the day. Okay? Party platform. Now, the party platform is made up of planks. So the planks make up the platform. So if you're building a deck, okay, planks of wood build your platform. Does that make sense? So the Republican Party's plank on abortion is what? They're opposed to it. Okay, the Democratic Party plank on abortion is what? Pro-choice. Yes. Okay, so you put all those together and you get the platform. All right. Good? All right. Then they raise money. Now, the RNC, which once upon a time I used to give money to. Back in 2000, George W. Bush was elected. And George W. Bush ran as a conservative, said he was going to cut spending and so forth. And he didn't. And for the 2 years that the Republicans controlled Congress and the White House, the Republicans spent like Democrats. Ran the debt up, grew the size of government, and I'm like, you know what? I'm tired of you people. The RNC called me for like 6 straight years asking me for money. And every single time I said no. I'm not giving you any money. You guys promised this, but you do that. No. Okay? So I'm giving them a penny cents. Okay? Like I've said, I'm upset with the Republican Party. Obviously, I'm not a huge fan of the Democratic Party, so am I a man without a party?
You're just a moderate. That's it.
I am not a moderate. Okay. Now, I am a man without a home. Okay. So, somebody's got to be in charge of these committees. So you're going to have a chairperson, a national chairperson, okay? And I'm going to put a name with these, okay? So these are the RNC chair. We'll just go chair. Okay. We don't want to use the wrong pronoun. Okay. All right, you ready for this? You're gonna like this. Rana, Romney.
Wow, that's a little bit.
McDaniel
Wow. Oh, what a name.
is the RNC chair. Yes, she is the daughter of one Mitt Romney. How old is Mitt? Mitt is running for the Senate in Utah. And yes, Mitt is a Mormon. And yes, Mitt was the former governor of Massachusetts. And his father was former governor of Michigan and ran for president as well and lost as well. Okay. Tom
Mitchell. No, I don't know. That's so weird.
Perez is the new DNC chair. Okay. Now, these folks are in charge of the party. Now, Romney McDaniel is not considered the head of the Republican Party. Who is considered the head of the Republican Party? Donald Trump, because he's president. Okay? So they kind of cede that power to the president. Tom Perez is the leader of the Democratic Party. Okay? Not Nancy Pelosi, not Chuck Schumer. Okay? Tom Perez. All right? Now, Tom and Rana have some objectives of their own. And that is to win. Okay?
Were those two people wanting to become president eventually? Like,
No.
They
No.
have more power than the president.
These are more behind the scenes people. Okay? Now, you might remember this name, maybe not. Reince Priebus. Okay, he was the RNC chair during the last election. He did his job. They won the presidency and they controlled Congress. Okay, and that's what they want to do. Win control of Congress and the presidency. That is their number one goal. So the former DNC chairwoman, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, failed. And she's out. Now, Reince Priebus, who succeeded. Now, as we know pretty well, guys, did the Republican National Committee want Donald Trump to be their candidate? No. Okay? But the people spoke. So Reince Priebus, who's the head of this back in 2016, he has a heck of a job to do. Okay, you've got this candidate that's a loose cannon, all right, that has a lot of baggage. The guy's caught on tape saying some really nasty things. Okay, and this is like a month before the election. Somehow Reince Priebus pulls it all together, okay, and Republicans get elected. So he's rewarded with a job in the White House. He goes to work for President Trump. He has since been ushered out. Which Wagers just sent me a text. Looks like Rex Tillerson, the Secretary of State, is out as of this morning. And this guy named Mike Pompeo, you might know him, I go to church with him, is going to be the new Secretary of State. I guess we're going to get a new CIA director. Yes?
Am I crazy, or has there been a decent amount of cabinet shifts, like more than other presidents?
Yeah, we do keep.
A lot of turnover.
It's like
Not just with cabinet, but most of the cabinet positions are, I wouldn't say irrelevant, but,
Like Secretary of Defense.
are they?
what do they even do?
Right. They're the head of the agency, the head of the bureaucracy. Okay. The bureaucracy is a self-sustaining cesspool. Okay. So he went to work for Trump, and then they had a falling out. He was there for 6-8 months. He lasted about 8 months, I think. So why is Rex Tillerson leaving? Now, see, this is the thing. Trump is different. And so, like, this whole thing with North Korea, like meeting Kim Jong-un, okay? Tillerson didn't even know about it. He's the Secretary of State. That's what the State Department deals with, is this sort of thing. But Trump is like, you know, as a businessman, he's kind of like he's the guy in charge. He just does it. You know what I mean? He does what he wants.
You want it done right, do it yourself.
Well, that's probably what he's thinking. Okay? Hey, we're going to have to wait and see, all right, what happens with this. But what is true. You can say what you want. What is true? The United States is giving up nothing for this meeting. Okay? When President Clinton was dealing with Kim Jong-un back in the 90s, what did we give up? We gave up a lot. We gave him technology. We helped him basically give him the technology to build nuclear weapons. We gave him technology to build nuclear power plants. And they said that we will put cameras in these facilities so you can watch us. And then 2 years later, the cameras are shut off. What do you do about it? The deal with Iran, President Obama, in order to get them to sign this deal, we gave them like $1.5 billion in cash that showed up on pallets of cash at airports in Iran. Trump didn't give up anything for this. So let's see what happens with it. I'm skeptical about dealing with a communist dictator. Okay? But would I rather have Donald Trump, that this guy might actually be a little bit scared of, than somebody that's going to bow down and, kiss his ring? I don't think so. Okay? So let's see what happens. But, this guy, he's different. And so, Rex Tillerson, who ran ExxonMobil, the largest company in the world, was probably like, okay, why am I here? I'm not involved in this, this stuff. And he was in Kenya when he found out about it, and then he said he wasn't feeling well, and so he came home. And so obviously they probably met and said, hey, I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to leave. Yeah.
What was he doing in Kenya?
Huh? He was just not doing State Department stuff. Yeah.
So were people in an uproar about us giving that North Korea and giving a bunch of cash?
I wrote a letter to the editor about it.
Editor of
The Wichita Eagle. I mean, I just complaining that if we, because I teach history, and so you're going to trust a communist dictator. That's what the Clintons were doing, is trusting a communist dictator. And I think that's the wrong thing to do. Okay? So the United States is continuing its military exercises with South Korea. We have the hardest sanctions that have ever put on North Korea are in right now. And this is something that Trump did when he came into office. He went before the United Nations and he called this guy out as Little Rocket Man, okay, and said, this guy is dangerous to the world. And if he threatens or attacks one of our allies or us, he's in big trouble. And just laid it out on the line. He's doomed if he messes with us. So is that peace through strength, saying, hey, you want some? And he knows that he can't win, so maybe he capitulates. Maybe he backs down. Maybe North Korea becomes part of the world community again. I don't know if it's going to work. Okay? All right, but it is a negotiating tactic. It's a style that he uses. Okay, next thing. Okay. They also, that's a 2. They also have to raise money, okay, and try and unite the party. Okay, let's do 3 right there, sister. Okay. Now, say what you will about his name. Reince Priebus somehow was able to do this with the Republican Party. So, yeah, raise money. Win control of Congress, okay? So there's your national parties, all right? So what I want to say to you now is that the state, at the state level, basically these committees are mirrored. The national committees are mirrored at state level. Okay, so the Kansas Republican Party, Democratic Party, okay, they have a chair, they have committee members, and so forth, okay? But every state does it different, so I'm not going to go into great details about that, okay? And then local, I think I probably mentioned this, but maybe not. Do you guys know what the Republican Party of Sedgwick County is called?
The Republican Party of Sedgwick County.
That's a good guess, but it's actually called the Pachydermy Club.
Oh, good.
It's really great.
Because the
Teresa?
It's elephants.
Pachyderms are elephants. You get it?
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Republican Party.
Yeah, the Pachydermy Club. All right, they meet every month down at the. There's an office building downtown. Anybody can go. The Sedgwick County Democratic Party is called the Sedgwick County Democratic Party. Yes. Okay. So usually county-wide, okay, you get your parties, okay. Okay. Usually in counties. Now, this is where you draw people for the state legislature. Okay, this is where you draw people for the city council. Okay, county commissioner. This is where you get your talent. This is where you get your people that are involved, and you get them to run for office. So let's say Grace here really was interested in politics, and she started going to the Pachydermy Club on Fridays once a month and meeting people. And then she did that for a few years. She volunteered, helped people get elected, raise money. And then a seat comes open where Grace lives, and the party says to Grace, hey, Grace, what do you think about running for that seat for the state house? We'll support you. Okay, we'll campaign for you, we'll raise money for you, and so forth. That's how it works. Okay, at the local level. Okay, hey, there's a county seat open on the county commission. What do you think about running for that? Or the school board? Okay, that's how you get involved, guys. That's how you start your political career. But you got to network. You got to get in and meet people that are, hardcore Republicans and Democrats. Okay, and volunteer. It doesn't pay anything. Okay, it's all volunteer. And by the way, the vote in the Senate, Kansas Senate, for the Convention of the States failed. Try again next year. Yeah. Well, what the plan is to, we know who voted no. And we need to target those people. No, you find people to run against them and replace them. Sorry. All right. Now, in these local, real quick, local politics is divided up typically by what are called wards and precincts.
What are these?
Precinct.
Local.
You're probably right. Let me just. Yeah, there's another C in here. units that cities are divided up into. This is a term you really hear a lot in like Chicago or New York, wards, because they have ward committee chairs and ward captains and so forth. In a city like Wichita, not as much, okay? But this is for city council. Okay, so the city is divided up into wards. Okay? And each one of you has a city council representative from where you live, your ward. Okay? The smallest unit in politics is called a precinct. This is where you go vote. You vote in your precinct. So when you register, it'll say on your registration card where your polling place is. Usually it's a church or a school or something like that. Okay? Where I vote is actually where my daughter goes to school at Central Christian Church. Okay, on 29th and Rock, which is a mile and a half from my house. Okay, yeah.
So in college, we have to come back here to vote?
Are you going in-state?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So if you're going to have a hard time getting back on that Tuesday, there are some voting early options where the polls open, like a week before the election where you can go vote early. The other option is just to get an absentee ballot. So you just go on Google, absentee ballot Kansas. It'll take you to the Secretary of State's office and you request an absentee ballot. They'll mail it to you at college, and then you just vote and send it back in. If you're not going to be home on that Tuesday, which is the first Tuesday after the first Monday in November on even numbered years.
Because it's like Tuesday the 1st and the word.
It happens. All right, good? All right, now, how much time I got? Let's go. All right. Because we got video day in the next 3 days. Okay, so let's get some notes done. All right? Well, I got 2 videos to show. One the Republican, one the Democrat, and I'm showing one of them on both Wednesday and Thursday because I got half the class, right? And then Friday we're going to watch the other one. Yes. Good? All right. Let's rock and roll. So, next thing. We've been talking about political parties. We're going to stay talking about these parties. The reasons why they have decreased in influence and power. Reasons why the parties have decreased in influence and power. And I have like 4. Number 1, the rise of moderates.
The rise of people like you?
No, not like me.
He's not a moderate.
I couldn't tell.
The rise of moderates, people that don't want to identify with either one of these parties. And can you blame them? Look at the leadership that these parties have. It's laughable. Nancy Pelosi? Chuck Schumer? Mitch McConnell? Who's the Speaker of the House? Oh, Paul Ryan? He's okay, I guess. But, come on. He's done, I think. He's not running for re-election. He's done. Huh? I think he's done. This is it for him. Paul Ryan. He said he's retiring.
We're all thinking. Say it.
What?
They said Paul Ryan's cute.
Yeah, he's handsome. No, I mean, as far as politician goes, he's a decent looking guy.
He's young.
Yeah, he's kind of, I mean, now, I don't know if he's a male model, but all right. People are less likely to identify with one of the two parties, and therefore that makes them weaker. Okay. When you go in to vote, okay, the way it used to be for more people was it was just like this. I'm voting all Democrat. This is party line vote. Okay. Today, you get a little more of this. Okay? And this is called split ticket voting. Okay? Now, you guys might think I'm some type of radical right-wing conservative, and you might be right, but I have voted for Democrats, okay, in the past. Right? And let me give you one good example. There was a election for the district attorney of which Sedgwick County. Okay, this is a few years ago, and the person running for the Democrats was a woman named Nola Folston. Now, Nola Folston was running against this other guy that'll remain unnamed, and she was the DA, the district attorney, that prosecuted both the BTK case and the Carr Brothers case, which were both national kind of media cases, especially BTK. And I thought she handled those very well. The way she presented the prosecution against those, got the convictions. She got the death penalty for the Carr Brothers. And so, you know, the guy she was running against, I knew somebody that knew him, and they told me some things about that individual that I didn't like. And so I voted for Nola Folston. I thought she deserved to be reelected. Okay? So, I mean, hopefully you guys will look at the candidates and, you know, study them a little bit. This is hard. We have busy lives and so forth, especially when it comes to things like judges. Where do you find information on that? There is information out there. Okay? And I know the Catholic Church does some things with voter guides and so forth that can be helpful. So, rise of moderates. Number 2, primaries. Direct primaries have reduced the party's power. Okay, so when I was talking about New Hampshire and Iowa and so forth, these caucuses and primaries, well, the people that vote in these primaries are deciding who the candidates are, not the parties. They're not getting to pick the winners. Well, the Democrats did last time, but usually it doesn't happen like that, okay? Because you guys know the Democrats put the fix in for Hillary, right? And I think they're hopefully going to reform their party a little bit on that.
Yeah, Tom Perez needs to silly guy.
Tom needs to fix it, okay? So now, guys, we used to not know who the candidate was going to be until the conventions. Now we know ahead of the conventions. So at the conventions, you're going to hear things about like delegates and so forth. At the convention,
When did we start knowing?
these primaries started in the 70s. We started to see people demand not the parties deciding who the candidates are, but the people. Okay. Now, elections are expensive. To run a primary in the state of Kansas, it costs over $1 million to put on a vote like that. You got to get a bunch of volunteers. You got voting machines out. It costs a lot of money. So it's expensive, but that's why we do caucuses, because it's a lot cheaper to do a caucus than to do primaries. Okay, because you got to pay people to do all the vote counting and stuff like that. Where caucuses, it's all done local in the counties and so forth. So the convention in 1976, Kansas City was the last time going into a convention we didn't know who the candidate was going to be, and that was for the Republicans. That was after, remember, Nixon resigns in 73. Okay, Gerald Ford takes over for him. Ford runs for re-election, but he was challenged by Ronald Reagan, the governor of California, in 1976. We didn't know who was going to be the nominee. Mr. Barber was there. He was at this convention in '76 in Kansas City. Okay, he was working as security at the convention. Okay, Ford got the nomination. Reagan would wait 4 years and run in 1980 again and win. Okay, so the primaries weaken the party because it's not the party bosses deciding. At least with the Republicans last time. I mean, seriously, guys, it's sad what happened. All right, TV and the internet. TV and the internet have really changed how we get our information. Remember, one of the functions is informative for the parties, but now we can get it from elsewhere. Yeah.
This is the question before. So do you think if the Democratic Party would have let the people decide the Democratic candidate, would have been a different outcome?
Well, I don't know if Bernie Sanders would have won. If the party, gave a little bit more support to him, he might have. Remember, they were having to defend Hillary in some of her scandals. So if they kind of just said, okay, she's not electable, let's let the people decide. See, they have these things called superdelegates. And the Democrats are talking about doing away with these. These superdelegates are not based on the primary or caucuses in the Democratic Party. It's a really complicated system. But almost all those superdelegates pledged to Hillary early on. I have one more, but it's a little bit lengthy. Okay, so the last one is political action committees. So I will talk to you guys about that when we resume taking notes. Yes. Okay. Good. Everybody got a book to read? You need to start working on that. Bye.